What's up, everybody? Joe White here, rolling today through the great state of Oklahoma. Oh man, I'm over here on I-44. I'm stopping in Oklahoma City tonight, and gotta tell you, I'm kind of worried about this PlayStation 5 Pro. The PS5 Pro is what they're calling it, and I've seen some of the specs from it, and I gotta say that I'm not that impressed by it. I did buy a PS4 Pro. I traded in the PS4 and bought the PS4 Pro with the trade-in money, and I liked it. I liked having that extra graphical power. I mean, there wasn't a big difference, but here is my whole problem with this PS5 Pro coming out this soon. And people say, "Well, Joe, you're 4 years into the life cycle of the PS5." Yes, but here's the rub. And here's what you're not understanding. PS5 came out in November of 2020. What was going on in the middle of November 2020? We were smack dab in the middle of COVID. Okay? It took me a year to find one. It took me a year to get my hands on one. And I had to buy it directly from PlayStation in a bundle with Call of Duty that I don't even rarely play anymore. I mean, I think I, I don't even think I beat that Call of Duty game that it came with. Modern Warfare 2, I think it was. Remastered. I don't know. I'm not a Call of Duty guy. Um, anyway, they, it was right smack dab in the middle of COVID, and it took me forever to get one. We are just now within the last 6 months to a year getting to the point where I could walk into a Walmart and buy one if I wanted to. You know, they had the chip shortage and the manufacturing shortage and all this and that going on. So technically, if you ask me, we are only in maybe year two of the PlayStation 5's life cycle. It is way too early, and if anything, this gives Sony an advantage because they can milk the PS5 for a couple more extra years than they normally would be able to milk a standard console generation because of COVID, because of how you could not find one of these things. And I remember when they first came out, Sony would release a bunch of them on their website, and you would have these resellers buy them all up and then turn around and sell them on eBay and Amazon for twice what they're worth. And people were paying reseller prices for one. Hell, I thought I might even have to go turn around and pay reseller prices for one. I got lucky. So I think this PS5 Pro deal is really, it's too soon. Way too soon. Um, And then, the people are talking about Grand Theft Auto 6 running on the PS5 Pro, that the PS5 Pro is going to be released this year. I'm not buying it. I'm not going to. And then they're turning around talking about how this is now the latter half of the PS5's cycle. We're in the last third of the PS5's life cycle. That we could be seeing a PS6 come out before 2030. And I have to tell you, I I'm not going to buy a PS5 Pro if that's the case. Why would I buy one just for, a year and a half, 2 years later for them to turn around and release the damn PS6? I'm not buying. It's way too early for all this to be going on. Now, granted, Sony is going to want, money because they've lost a ton of money when sinking their funds into this PS5 VR, PSVR 2. Nobody's buying that. Nobody's paying for it. VR is just a thing right now that is very early on. I think it's maybe, I think of VR kind of like how 3D is to movies. It has a niche audience. Um, are there some good games for it? Yeah, but I just don't. it hasn't caught on like they wanted it to. So I think that they need to recoup a lot of money that they've sank into. They got dozens. I mean, they probably got hundreds of these headsets sitting in their warehouse that they need to liquidate and get rid of. And it's costing them money. So how do you make money? You got to spend money to make money. So they're gonna turn around and push out this PS6 with a detachable disk drive. Why would you want it to be detachable? Either you want the disk drive or you don't want the disk drive. I don't want options. I can see it maybe if you're running on system storage, but still, go expand your storage. I just put a 1 terabyte stick in mine in a couple months ago, right around Christmas. It's easy to do. Bam, 2 screws, you're done. So I think that it's way too soon for this. Now, concerning Grand Theft Auto 6, I said it right off the bat. The people over at GTA 6 o'clock, Dan Dawkins, James Jarvis, um, 2 British guys who I love listening to their podcast. They bring some great ideas to the podcast. They're really, I enjoy that. If you haven't gone and listened to GTA 6 o'clock, go and listen to them. Now, do I think that they're way off on some of the stuff that they would like to see? Yeah, because they choose not to be totally practical in their approach. We are not going to see. I don't think now. June is, well, we can't call it E3 season. I guess it's Summer Games Fest season is what we would call it now. It used to be right around June was when the big gaming companies would hold their annual showcases. What's coming next? What could be coming in the future? What's coming up this year? The rest of this year? Blah blah blah. Now, Rockstar has never been one to pander to that crowd. They never really did release anything around E3. They never did a Rockstar presentation for E3. Take Two never did a whole big presentation for E3. That wasn't their style. I do think that they are right on the money when they say May or June. And I do think that they're right on the money when they say that the release date is going to be pushed back. We're not going to know publicly what the exact release date is. Um, I've said it all along. You had Final Fantasy VII Rebirth get released around March of this year. I'm going to say Easter of next year is when, right around Easter, the month of March, April, somewhere around there. I'm going to say maybe early April. Let's see, when is Easter of next year? December, January, March. Let's see here. Well, I can't put. I want to say it's like right around March 30th, April 6th, somewhere around there. Is Easter in 2025? So I think somewhere around that time period is when you'll see it released. And it's going to do gangbusters. The game has already gone platinum, and they ain't even taken pre-orders for it yet. Let's be honest here. This game is going to be the biggest selling game of all time. It's going to sell more than GTA 5 did at release, I will say, because I mean GTA 5 is still printing money to this day, 11 years later almost. So, um, but I think that they are on the money where we'll get something around May, stating what's coming up next. Maybe we're not going to get a full blown trailer. We are not going to get trailer number 2 until probably July or August, I'll say. If we get trailer number 2 in April or in May, it'll shock me. So it's it's getting to the point now where people are going to start becoming even more anxious. They're going to want to demand it even more. Bill Clinton still wants to play GTA 6, according to that guy who interrupted the Game Awards 2 years ago. So the Florida Joker has dropped his lawsuit, but he wants to voice the character. Anyway, crazy things have been going on with this game. Um, I still think that we are going to see, as far as the story of this game goes, I still think that one of these two main antagonists, one is Jason, the other is Lucia. Well, we actually never even gotten the guy's name, but it's Jason. If you look at all the leaked footage, it says switch to Jason at the bottom right hand corner. So we have Jason and Lucia, and I think that one of them is going to be a cop. My mind is leaning toward probably Jason, because in modern, well, I can't say that because I don't think this game is woke by any means. Just go look at the trailer. There's so much non-woke. They're gone to satirizing the wokeness is what they're doing. But I do think that he is going to be the cop. I think he's going to be the traitor. Um, unless go back to two of the videos I did covering this a couple months ago. Was talking about one of the videos is Jason who we think we is Jason who we think he is. Easy for me to say, and is Lucia who we think she is. I still leaning toward Jason doing it, but I could totally see where Lucia's in jail. And that whole deal we see at the beginning with her going, hey, why do you think you're here? With that counselor or corrections counselor. Maybe they cut a deal with her where, hey, you help us bust this guy and we'll take 20 years off your sentence or we'll release you, clear your record, whatever the case may be. This is going to be their Fast and Furious. This is going to be just their version of Fast and Furious. Do I think we'll see you checking in every now and then? Like a couple of the missions will be to check in with the police captain or police officer, the FIB people, and let them know what's going on. And you got to be an informant. You got to be undercover. So and also you're going to be busting other drug rings along the way and stuff like that while trying to keep your cover. And at the end of Fast and Furious, you end up, Brian O'Connor ends up helping Toretto escape. So could we see that toward the end? Also think of the movie Deep Cover with Lawrence. I think it was Lawrence Fishburne, and you had Lawrence Fishburne and oh God, what Jeff Goldblum in that movie. Very good movie. If you've never seen Deep Cover, you owe it to yourself to go see that movie. It is very good. Maybe we might see like a deep cover scenario where, hey, in order to get the guy, you got to go undercover and never blow your cover. So we could see a lot of stuff happening here. But I'm going to go ahead and call it. One of these two is a cop, or one of these two is working for the cops. I want to talk a little bit about AEW from last night. The Mercedes Moné thing. Golly. She basically came out and cut the same promo that she did last week. And even more so, she flat out came out and was a bit of a heel going, hey, look at this beautiful video package I created for myself. Which explains nothing. It shows you once again that their fan base is just like me, just like you listening to this, just like anybody who reads Dave Meltzer or any other wrestling website. They are catering to the smart audience, the smart mark audience. And I think that they finally realized it. I think that the Revolution pay-per-view was an eye-opener for old Snowman Khan. The snowman finally had his eyes opened, and I think he's finally realizing, look, we got the newsletter people, and we got the internet sheet readers, and that's it. We might as well stop trying to go out of our way to cater to anyone else because it's not going to work. Well, they've proven that it's not going to work. So, and the Mercedes Monet thing, just they put her in a feud. They've put her into a feud with a bunch. But I love Julia Hart and Sky Blue. I like I love me some Willow Nightingale and Chris Statlander. But let's face it, you bring in a marquee talent like that and you don't have her go for a women's championship? Why is she not fighting with Toni Storm? Why is Toni Storm still on the same, feud with Deonna Purrazzo? And now we've thrown Thunder Rosa into the mix. So I do want to say, though, that last night I very much enjoyed, and again, when AEW does something good, I got to put it over. I very much enjoyed the Chris Jericho versus Hook match. Jericho did a very good job in putting Hook over. I've said it from day one. Hook is the future of that company. He has main event written all over him. He is a poster boy for the smart audience. I got a comment on Facebook the other day about when I was talking about the X-Men and people going, you like Final Fantasy? Yes, I do like Final Fantasy. I love video games. And Hook looks like a character straight out of Final Fantasy VII. With the hair and the short, I could see in Final Fantasy VII running into a gym and looking, oh, there's Hook. He has that look about him. He has that anime-ish look, fanboy look about him. But yet at the same time, he also looks like he could daggone kill people. So, I want to see Hook versus Will Ospreay like yesterday. Um, as my GPS is in the background talking at people. But yeah, I Hook is the future of that company. He needs more than that FTW title, which really doesn't mean anything because he never defends it. Um, Hook versus Edge. Edge just won the TNT title. Hook versus Edge? Are you kidding me? Be awesome. I think it would be awesome to have Hook versus Edge and have Hook beat Edge. So I think that there he has potential. Hook has potential. And this match with Jericho, yes, Jericho did 90% of the work and carried Hook, but at the same time, I just think that Hook has potential. He has it, and they need to maybe start strapping the rocket to him. Maybe right now it's only a bottle rocket, but sooner rather than later, I want to see Hook up there in the main event. You can't keep pushing the same guys. WCW learned that the hard way. You can't keep just pushing the older generation, the WWE generation. They got Samoa Joe as a champion. Samoa Joe's an old TNA guy, and even a, dare say WWE guy. He's not a homegrown talent. Even Swerve is not homegrown. He was at WWE before this. So you have to start making homegrown talent. And Hook could very well be your first major homegrown talent that you've had there since the start. And I don't want to hear about any of the other guys that were there, Jungle Boy and Hangman and all these other guys. They were in New Japan. They were on the Indies. Hook is your first homegrown guy. I think that you could say, hey, we made this guy a star. He started here. He never had a match before he came here. This is our guy. You know, this is our forever guy. To quote Don LaGreca, that's your forever guy. If you know, you know. But I think Hook has that potential. I've always said that Hook has that potential. Sky Blue and Julia Hart have that potential down the road. Willow Nightingale spent years on the Indies, so I mean, I watched her in North Carolina wrestling for CWF Mid Atlantic and Queens of Combat. Um, so that's all I wanted to say for today. You know, TNA, AEW needs to focus on more on homegrown talent going in the future, and I think they'd be better for it. And yes, you have to have them beat people like Jericho. You have to have people like Swerve, even though he's not quote really homegrown. You got to have him win that title at some point. The match between Edge and Christian is good, but that TNT title would be served better on somebody like a Wardlow or, hell, even Orange Cassidy at this point. You got to stop relying on the old guard, and you got to have the old guard put the new guard over at some point. It's just the way it is. It's like that in every sport. Sooner or later, the young guy comes up and beats the old guy. Anyway, folks, I'm going to get off here. If you see a big rig on the road, let us over if we need to get over. Do not tailgate us. Give us lots of room out here. Go the speed limit. And if you can't see our mirrors, we can't see you. And we'll see you down the road.